Welcome to another episode of Message from Mom, where we're busting the myth that mothers-in-law aren't necessarily monsters-in-law. And I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts who happen to be my daughters-in-law, because that's how we're going to bust that myth, right?
Yep.
So Kelly's to the left of me.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm married to Beth's oldest son, Alex.
And Chelsea's to the right.
Hi, I'm Chelsea, and I'm married to Beth's middle son, Andrew.
And can you believe it? I don't know where this year has disappeared to, but the holidays are hot on our heels.
They are.
And so today we're going to talk about holiday traditions. We're going to keep it easy breezy. And so actually we're going to divide it up. So Chelsea, you have New Year's Eve because you are married on New Year's Eve. So you're going to be able to start some fun traditions, but we'll talk about some older traditions too. And Kelly, you have Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And yours truly has Christmas. So, but before we get into the episode, we're going to raise our glass in a toast because we know you don't have to be a blood relative to love your relative. So, cheers ladies.
Cheers.
And I think this is episode 40.
Yeah, so we can cheers to that too.
Wow, that's kind of a milestone.
Yeah.
40 episodes. So, if you have missed any of our podcasts, please feel free to go back and catch an episode because we've been having a lot of fun since the beginning of the year. So, okay, I have to take a sip.
All right.
Otherwise, it's bad luck. Right? Okay. So, and my message from Mom today really is just very short and sweet, but it's how important traditions really are and how they are passed on from generation to generation. And I'm just always reminded of Christmas because my mom loved it so much and it was her favorite holiday. Actually, my dad's favorite holiday was Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving too because I just love all the food.
Yeah.
Give me all the mashed potatoes and butter. But it just always reminds me of family, just growing up and my mom's sheer joy of putting the house together and decorating. She would talk about it for weeks and weeks before she would even get the decorations out. But it was a big event for her.
Yeah.
And it was until, honestly, her dying day. And so I thought it was very important to have my own tradition. So I adopted a lot of traditions that I grew up with. But my late husband, Mac, did not grow up in America and actually did not grow up Christian. So he didn't, A, he wasn't American, so he didn't participate in Thanksgiving. B, he wasn't Christian, so he didn't participate in Christmas, New Year's. I mean, that's a universal holiday, so he did. But, and then Mac did become a Christian, and so we adopted a lot of things. And so he would be very excited about Christmas, and so we had our own traditions. But I think the one thing that I really just got from my mom was just decorating the house and just how much fun that truly can be.
Yeah.
And so whether it's big like I used to do when the boys were younger, or it's a little bit smaller like I do these days, just because easy is just part of my DNA as I get older. I don't know, can you change your DNA when you get older? But anyway, I like easy peasy now. But it's still important to me to to decorate for Christmas. But it's also important to me to celebrate all the holidays. And we're just going to kick it off in chronological order. So Kelly, I'm going to have you start with Thanksgiving, which was my dad's favorite holiday.
Yeah. So Thanksgiving, I think a lot of people love this holiday because of the food. And I think nowadays it's probably more about the food than anything else, really. But so Alex and I host Thanksgiving as part of our tradition since moving here to Athens. And
you have a great kitchen.
We do.
You have a great space. Plus, you're an excellent cook. I mean, it just is kind of a no-brainer. You know, all those things together.
Yeah, we have a huge, big, long farm table and a big bar, kitchen island. So there's plenty of room for a lot of people. So all the Jalalis come over, and then we actually invite. We include everybody from your parents, from your mom and stepdad, to my mom who now lives here in Athens, and we also invite our neighbors sometimes too. So it tends to be like 20 plus people, which is a lot, but it's
nice. I love
fun.
that though.
Yeah.
I think the more the merrier, especially Thanksgiving time.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like a bigger group.
It is nice because I didn't grow up doing Thanksgiving like that. So it's interesting to have a different
Yeah, and I actually like it because I did grow up having Thanksgivings like that because my paternal grandmother used to host Thanksgiving, and she had probably more than 30 people there. I mean, it was just a huge thing, and it was all family and friends. And she would do turkeys and all the normal Thanksgiving, like American Thanksgiving stuff, but they also had Mexican heritage. And so there were, all kinds of Mexican treats like menudo and which I never liked tripe, so I just scooped that out. But the menudo itself is really good.
What's menudo? I don't even know what that is.
It's a tripe soup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's got all kinds of delicious veggies in it, and the broth is really good.
Okay. That doesn't sound good, but I'm sure it.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of it is an acquired taste, but it is really good. And then she would have tamales and just all kinds of
that sounds good.
things. So it was a nice, fun mashup of culture. But so I love being able to host Thanksgiving because it does remind me of my grandmother's Thanksgivings, which I love. And then it is just great because since I don't run Jalali Cooks anymore, I don't cook as much as I used to. And so Thanksgiving is something I really look forward to now as being like my Super Bowl of cooking.
Yeah.
So we typically, Alex and I, and because there's so many people, we typically do 2 turkeys, and Alex really likes to smoke on his smoker. So we do a smoked turkey.
The turkeys are always
I like
really
the other
good.
one better, but
yeah. Well, we do a smoked turkey, and then we do a deep fried turkey. And last year we introduced something new, which was taking that smoked turkey and then deep frying it for just a few minutes to crisp it up, which worked out really well, I think, because you have the flavor of the smoke, but then it's fried.
I like both, but I love a deep fried turkey.
Yeah.
And if you've never had one, I am telling you. Oh my gosh, they're so good.
They are really
good. It's
a
lot of work though, isn't it?
The cleanup is the worst part of it because you're dealing with gallons and gallons of peanut oil, and that's challenging. And but the setup and all of that is not bad.
Okay.
And you do have to be very careful and safe.
Yes.
A lot of safety precautions.
Definitely.
But so we do that, and then we do, all the traditional sides typically, and we like to, it's not so much a potluck, but we do ask everyone, we put everyone in charge of something specific to bring, and that can change from year to year, but so like Beth, usually you bring hors d'oeuvres and
I almost
appetizers.
always do the appetizers. Yeah. I'm the app lady. I don't know why that is.
They make her do charcuterie.
I'm always doing it.
They only trust you with the charcuterie. Nothing else.
We figure it's easy.
I cook for these kids for many a year. And
I want to get the charcuterie board.
Well, maybe we can swap this year.
I don't know. I was thinking, I do like appetizers, and I do like, I'll bring a dip, or
we got mashed potatoes this year, which I feel like you actually have.
Scallop potatoes.
I think you always have potatoes. Don't you always have potatoes?
No, they usually
never bought potatoes.
You never have. What do you usually bring?
Alcohol.
Oh, booze.
Which is
you're on the
way easier than
neutral. I know, the potatoes.
I'm just warning you that I feel like our scallop potatoes may be from a box.
I think that's okay.
Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
There are no rules.
That's right.
As far as how you go about preparing.
There's no judgment. Well, perhaps behind your back.
But I think, but you know what? I've done Thanksgiving a lot of different ways over the years, and we did step out of the box a couple of years ago, and we wanted to do. Alex and I thought it would be fun to do a Chinese food Thanksgiving. Okay, so with all very good intentions, but this is one of those moments where everything went wrong at the very end, and you just have to overcome it. And
I thought that was a great Thanksgiving.
Well, here's the thing. I really screwed it all up. It was all my fault. I take 100% of the blame for it. We started off that day. We had our menu set. I'm very confident in Asian cooking. Like I do it really well. I have a lot of practice with it. We cooked everything and had it all prepared to perfection. And then I wanted to keep everything warm, and I turned the oven on too hot. So everything was keeping warm in the oven, but the oven was too hot, so that by the time we sat down to eat, it was all overcooked. So it was very disappointing from a cook's perspective. Everyone else,
I was going to say,
enjoyed it.
I didn't really notice if you hadn't said something. This is where, so you have to learn never. I mean, actually, Mac was really good about this. To say, he's like, never admit your mistakes. Yes, or because then People will, or your flaws, because people will just zero in on that.
Yes, I totally understand that, and I agree.
We thought it was great. I mean, we were happy.
And I'm glad that everyone was. But the 2 cooks in charge of that day were disappointed with the outcome. But we still had a great time. It was a lot of fun, and I think it came together really well, and everyone enjoyed it because it was so different. And but in the past too, I've done, my mom had put together a Thanksgiving one year where we made cioppino, which is a seafood, an Italian seafood stew that originated in San Francisco. So that was a lot of fun. And I would totally do something like that again for Thanksgiving sometime if we, had our druthers, and maybe we'd get some crab and different seafood things from Alaska, and we could do our crab feed again.
Totally down for that. I would.
But I think the thing about Thanksgiving that that matters the most, like, it's always great to once a year have these, special foods that we always think of as Thanksgiving foods. But I think really what I am so much more excited about Thanksgiving for, just in general, is everybody getting together over a meal. Just an entire day of snacking and then eating a meal.
I love
having some sweets.
There's usually football on in the background, and yes, good company and good food. I mean, you just really can't beat that. And as long as there's, I mean, I'm a big turkey lover. I mean, that's just a staple. And I just have great memories of my dad carving the turkey, and my mom would make, even if it were just the 5 of us, she would get a 24-pound turkey just so we would have leftovers because that was the favorite. And I like turkey sandwiches. I like turkey soup. I mean, I just like all the things afterwards. And I just really eat turkey once a year. So, yes.
We were a ham family.
We're a ham family, really?
Family for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we'd do like honey baked ham. And, well, it was just me and my mom for the longest of times. So like you had mentioned, you did the Asian Thanksgiving one year. So for Thanksgiving, we always cooked traditional Thanksgiving foods typically, but we would do ham instead of turkey. But then everything else was pretty much, we do like the sweet potato casserole and all of that, traditional like green bean casserole. But then on Christmas, we would do where like we do like Mexican theme or Italian theme. We like switch it up because we were like, oh, well, we just ate these foods in Thanksgiving. But Thanksgiving we always did very traditional. And then because it was just me and my mom, we would not do the football in the background, but we would literally pick a series and we would binge watch a series for like the day.
Yeah,
that's very fun.
I like that.
Which was fun.
Yeah.
Did you get out of your PJs?
No, we'd stay in our PJs, and we would always like start the day. We would do cinnamon rolls, like the orange glazed cinnamon rolls. So we'd do that. Once I was like old enough to drink, we would do mimosas. So like mimosas, cinnamon rolls, and then we'd basically watch the Thanksgiving Day parade. And then we'd start cooking like in the afternoon, and then we would watch a series of
I always
some sort.
like to have the parade on as I'm like kind of getting things together in the morning. And then my favorite, even more than the parade, is the dog show. After.
The dog show after.
That's right.
It's my favorite. I
They
love
have
it.
that now.
Yeah.
Well, they switched that up. I'm not sure when they brought that in, but as a young girl growing up, I mean, that's how our holiday went. My mom would have the Macy's Day Parade on as she was cooking. So she had a little TV in the kitchen, so that would be on. Then the big one in the family room, and then all the aromas. A lot of times, though, growing up, so I grew up in Nebraska, so our football team was the Cornhuskers, and they were really quite good. And there used to be, I don't know if they still play on Thanksgiving, but there was always Oklahoma and Nebraska would play on Thanksgiving Day. So sometimes my brother and my dad would go off to the game, which was in Lincoln, so they wouldn't get back until, it was about time to carve the turkey. Things like that, or it would be blaring in the background. But Macy's Day Parade, and then that was the football.
That was always.
But now it's like the Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving, I believe.
I don't know. I really don't pay attention.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to.
Oh, it's Detroit and Dallas. It's always Detroit and Dallas, right? Okay. Okay,
I
that's
could not
right.
tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also just I'm like whatever.
Whatever when it comes to football.
But I do. So with that being said, that was just me and my mom. I do appreciate, and I like, the getting together because it's definitely a different feel. And now it's like, oh, well, we actually get dressed up in nice clothes and not that like, I mean, obviously I still loved the fact that we wore pajamas all day and it was just, I mean, that was like a day in of itself, but, we never really did. There was a few years that one of my good friends, her mom actually lived right next door to my mom, and she was divorced. And so when they would be over for Thanksgiving, me and my mom would still do our Thanksgiving, but then her mom would always invite us over and she was Puerto Rican. And so she would have all like the traditional like Puerto Rican food.
Yeah.
So we'd go over there and eat and then like watch a movie with them, which
fun.
was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see that you had your own little tradition that you baked in, for Thanksgiving. So it was yours.
Yeah.
Which I like. But it is fun. I do like the opportunity to celebrate with many people.
Yeah.
It really is. It's very fun. It's very festive. And Thanksgiving is just so laid back. It really is.
For sure. Yeah.
So I'll share one more tradition that, so my paternal grandmother had these blowout Thanksgiving parties. And so that was when I was young. My parents were divorced and my grandmother passed away when I was in my early 20s. So all of that ended as because she had cancer. And so those big parties for Thanksgiving ended probably when I was in my early teens. Maybe I was 10 or 11 or something. But then we moved into the same town where my maternal grandparents lived. And so then my maternal grandmother would then host Thanksgiving. And she had this really wonderful tradition of, she had this very long table and she had a tablecloth that fit the table. And we would all sit at the table and have dinner. And then after dinner, we had a pen. She would pass around a ballpoint pen and we were to sign our name on the tablecloth with the year, right? So Thanksgiving, such and such date, right?
I love that.
And then she would take that tablecloth, after the holiday and she would cross stitch over the ballpoint pen signature. So that every year the tablecloth was getting more and more full with this embroidered names and signatures of everybody who had been at the year before. And so it turned into this really cool thing over, a decade or so where it was just like full of brightly colored embroidered signatures from everyone who had been, because, cousins would come some years and my aunt would come so it was always kind of
always different,
changing a little bit. Yeah. So that was a really fun tradition.
That was
really
fun.
liked it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite food for Thanksgiving?
Well, I'm one of those kind of people that likes to create the perfect bite. So on my Thanksgiving plate, I will have a little bit of everything. And I really like creating a perfect bite between potatoes, stuffing, turkey, and gravy. And then sometimes I'll even take that bite and like put it in a little piece of roll and have the sweet roll. So I don't have a favorite food necessarily, but I like the combination of all of them together. A little bit of cranberry for that tart.
Well, so now that you're celebrating with the Jalalis, is there a favorite food that you have?
Well, I'm trying to think because I feel like every year it's been a little bit different when I've come. So when me and my mom did it, we did like this, which maybe I should do this for instead of the scalloped potato. We did like a green bean casserole that I really liked. That was really good. And it was like pretty easy to make, but I always really liked that. And we would do these, like stuffed mushrooms that we actually, I don't know when we started doing them, but we started doing them one year. I think I had found the recipe and it's just basically like a portobello mushroom that you take the inside of it out and then you put the olive oil over it. And then you basically like stuff it with a bunch of different like Asiago cheese and like different herbs and stuff.
That's yummy.
So
that would be
those
good.
were really
You
good.
should bring those to Thanksgiving. That'd be really good.
And they're pretty easy to do. It's something that you could like, it would be good to something that you could prepare at home. And then once you get to where you're going, just stick it in the oven cause really it just needs to get melted, but I really did enjoy those. The one thing I will say, a dish that I don't really enjoy is cranberry sauce. I'm not
Oh, you don't
into
like that?
No, not
We
really.
just haven't had the right cranberry sauce.
I tried. Yeah, I tried it that one year that you did the canned and the real, and I was like, this is not for
I
me.
didn't like it.
Yeah, I always do canned and real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or homemade and canned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had a recipe years ago that had oranges in it. So it was oranges, and Mac really liked it.
Yeah.
So it was like more of kind of like a slaw almost because
Oh, that sounds good.
the cranberries were really chopped up, and so were you use a little food processor and put nuts in it, and Mac loved that. He had a little sweet tooth, so I think that it was a little bit sweeter than with the addition of the oranges.
Yeah.
I think there was even orange. I want to say there was orange jam, a little bit of orange jam in there too, that really did sweeten it. He loved that, and he loved like the cranberry. He loved Jello salad. The man loved Jello salad.
See, that's
hilarious
like
because
Jello texture. I'm like,
he didn't grow up. Well, he didn't grow up eating that, but he really fell in love with that. That was a very American thing.
What even is Jello salad?
Well, you can make it in a lot of different ways. So it's not. I mean, you can just have like Jello salad, but the way that
is
I
it just
would
like
do
a
it,
mold of Jello, or
it's just a
you
mold.
put like fruits
So
in it?
You can so you can have a variety of things, and he loved fruits, and so he just liked the whole consistency, and it's cold.
Yeah.
So
that's what the consistency is what gets me. That's why I don't like it. I think.
Yeah. But you might like it with like more fruits and things like that because it's not so jello-ish.
Jello-ish.
Yes, but he loved those types of
I feel
salads.
like me and Mac had very everyone, you always are like, oh, I'm like Mac in some ways, but I think we had very different palates when it came to food.
Definitely. The man was he loved everything, and he was such a good eater and overall a healthy eater. He had a sweet tooth because he grew up in Vienna.
Yeah.
And he did develop a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
He really loved his sweets, but he was very good. He ate everything. And never complained like when we were first married and I was only making casseroles. I had no, because that's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
Casseroles. So
that is a thing of the 90s. That's what I grew up on.
I made casseroles, and the man never said anything until I branched out and was starting to make other things. And he inadvertently made, some comment about, thank God I wasn't making casseroles anymore. I was like, what? I never liked them. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was like this horrible wife.
Well, I feel like for most of us that didn't grow up in the Midwest, casseroles tend to be a very Thanksgiving-y kind of thing. Like a lot of us don't even really eat casseroles.
It feeds a lot of people
until Thanksgiving. So you've got like the sweet potato casserole,
absolutely,
green bean casserole,
absolutely.
There's
because that's the beauty of casseroles is they do feed a lot of people and they're easy. And you can do them ahead of time, and which is really great.
That's true. They are really easy to do, and
I have a couple of really great potato. I mean, if you don't want to do scallop potatoes, I can.
Me and Beth are already rearranging the course of dinner here,
and I like how you've just taken it upon yourselves to rearrange the menu.
We'll let Kelly know later. We'll send you an email. We'll give you an update.
We might not have any potatoes, actually.
Oh, for sure we have to have potatoes.
Well, somebody's got to do them.
Because, that's my favorite.
You make really good mashed potatoes.
I make excellent mashed potatoes. Yeah. I put all sorts of special things
I've had your mashed potatoes before.
They're super good. Because I love them. I mean, that's why they're good. It's because I really, really, really love.
Kelly's like, I would have never agreed to this podcast topic had I known.
I know. No, she's happy we're talking about it. She's like, what the heck?
No,
I have to keep everybody in check here. We're going rogue. And hijacking the menu. No, we promise we'll.
I mean, all of the food. Well, all the food that you guys cook is always really good.
Yeah. I try to do a different or add something new or do something in a different way each.
I mean, I appreciate it because for one thing, I am not a cook and I don't claim to be a cook. And, obviously I can bring a side dish or we can bring alcohol. That's normally what we're in charge of is alcohol. So I don't know how we didn't get that job this year.
I know.
But I do appreciate it because it's kind of nice just to show up and,
It is. Yes.
Have the food there.
It's really nice. And I do like it because our Thanksgiving group is very eclectic. And everybody does bring something. And so you just never know you do have a menu. So you do assign everybody.
just so that all the bases are covered.
Right.
Which
right.
well,
but then it's your version of, what, so if you have a sweet potato casserole that you've loved for years, it could be much different than, what I've grown up with. So I do like that aspect of it too.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And hopefully it helps you a little bit too.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
You're not doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, for sure.
And I particularly like because your nephew's girlfriend, who happens to be an excellent baker, her desserts are amazing.
Oh, yeah. Those are great.
Always look forward. I guess it's just been, I've just had one. Well, I've had several holidays with her, but maybe
she
just one
Christmas.
Thanksgiving. She did Christmas too.
She did Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Well, she did Super Bowl too.
Super Bowl.
She had homemade
Any
macaroons.
Any excuse for her to bring a dessert.
That was Super Bowl. It was like, and I brought my friend Rebecca, and Rebecca was like, these are the best that she'd ever had.
And her idea for that was so cute. She did it was like a charcuterie board or a cheese board, but it was all dessert. So it was a dessert board. So there was a huge variety of different things. And the macarons were just one of, she did like lemon bars and brownies and cookies.
So
and it was good.
Yeah. So I do indulge in desserts for holidays, not typical, well, and vacations too.
Yeah.
Which is why my pants were a little tight when I got back. Even with all that walking. But yes, I love Thanksgiving, and I'm glad that you are in charge of Thanksgiving and it's at your home. You have the perfect home. As I said, they have the perfect home to host, and
just a big open space. So it is actually really good for a holiday like Thanksgiving because the kitchen is open to the dining room, is open to the living room. So you can have the football game on and you can pay attention or not from wherever in the main living area. So it is a good space for a holiday like Thanksgiving.
And if it's nice out, which it typically is in Georgia, I mean, sometimes we can be quite warm. We can be in the 80s. Sometimes we could be in the 60s, but you also have the
screen porch. Yeah, we open up the screen porch.
You've got heaters out there,
which is really nice.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that covers Thanksgiving, I think, unless we want to chime in on anything else. Okay, then I'm going to take it next because I'm going to talk about Christmas. And I briefly shared, it's just my favorite holiday because I just have such great memories of my mom decorating and just her excitement. She was always very childlike when it came to Christmas and as far as, Christmas gifts. And I grew up in that era where we had like presents, sprawling. I mean, it was kind of a little crazy. We would go over the top. And I actually, so for our Christmas, I really pared that down. So when the boys were quite young, I decided that we would just have 3 gifts because the wise men brought baby Jesus 3 gifts. And so I thought that would be a very good way to, control consumerism in our home.
It's a really smart idea.
And it was. And so, and then also that I even went one step further. And so one was an educational gift, one was clothes, and then one was like something really what they wanted on their list, so they would also get out their lists and tell us and to not. And I was told many a time not to deviate from the list as far as the boys.
You make the list then.
I know they're very particular on very particular on gift giving, so that was always very cute. But I will, so I'm kind of going off the path a little bit here, but one of my favorite Christmases, and everybody was sick, so I don't know why it was a favorite Christmas, but everybody got the flu. But it was, we had Christmas, and so that was the year. So for clothes, they all wanted starter jackets. So I think Andrew had Dallas Cowboys. AJ, what did you have? San Francisco? He's not here.
He went out.
I just remember Andrew really wanted the Dallas Cowboys. I can't remember why, but anyway, so we purchased a starter jackets for the, I know, right? For the boys, and they were just over the moon with that gift. Yeah. And so then the flu struck with our house, and I'll just never forget them lying around in their starter jackets in pajamas. And I think that's why it was just adorable. Yeah. They're just lying on the couch but they had their starter jackets on, which was just so cute. It
reminds me of that scene in A Christmas Story when the youngest boy has fallen asleep under the tree with his blimp. He's like got his little just tuckered out, but so in love with their gifts.
Yes, and it was the cutest thing. And so really, when the boys were young, we were living in the States. I was very traditional with our Christmases. And so decorated the house in a specific way every year. And
when did you start decorating for Christmas?
so I still pretty much follow this rule, and that's what my mom did. So the day after Thanksgiving.
I was wondering if you were a day after Thanksgiving.
The day after Thanksgiving, we'd haul all the boxes out and put all the decorations up, and I would try and get that done in one fell swoop in one day. Get everything up and the boxes put away. And then it wasn't necessarily the day after Christmas, but I started at the day after Christmas to start putting it together. But I never did that in one day. So I would just do a little bit every day. But my goal was always to have everything put away by New Year's Eve.
Oh, really? See, I still like to have the Christmas tree up for New Year's Eve.
Yeah. We never did.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like.
Yeah.
I just like the lights of it, and it's still, because New Year's Eve still feels so festive to me that my grandma would never take her Christmas tree down until after Epiphany, so that's like way long.
A lot of people are like that. I mean, that's their tradition.
After when?
Epiphany, which is like January 15th.
Oh.
But I mean, I will share this. We always had real trees when we were in the States, and so Mac was very safety conscious, and so that tree was going to be down the day after Christmas. It really was. But we also had, I mean, that was also a fun tradition. When the boys were younger, we would go off and find the perfect Christmas tree. Yeah. So that was always an outing, and sometimes we would go cut our own Christmas tree, or just go to a Christmas tree farm where they had like little animals, little petting zoo. Yeah. Fun things like that. And we also learned too, so to make our life easy, so we would have the Christmas tree farm deliver the tree to our house.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Mac would say, "Hey, can you put it in the stand for me?" And he'd give him some extra money.
I wish me and my mom would have known that, because we always had real Christmas trees, and it was just me and my mom putting it.
It's a struggle.
And then pine needles and then finally me and Andrew just have fake trees, because it's just so much easier.
Right? Yeah. As much as I miss the smell of a fresh.
The smell is nice.
Yeah.
The cleanup is just.
Oh, it's just a nightmare.
Although the cleanup of ours, 2 years ago, Andrew decided that he was going to just slide the box
I remember this.
down the stairs, and then he made a big hole in our basement and had to patch that up. So that cleanup was maybe a little bit more than just taking down a real tree.
Well, I think we all agree, and we all have fake trees or artificial trees, whatever is the appropriate word. It just makes your life so much easier.
It does.
It does.
And they already have the lights on them, or some of them do. Mine does.
Mine does too.
And I'm all about easy now. So yes. So those are the traditions when we were really young. And then when we went overseas, they kind of got lost a little bit. But I will say, when we lived in Vietnam and when we lived in China, there was the consulate, and the U.S. consulate always had like a big party. We were usually invited to that, so we would,
fun.
Like for Thanksgiving, we would definitely do that. But we would typically take a trip over Christmas, so we wouldn't miss that holiday so much. So we were busy doing things, traveling. So I guess that kind of became our new tradition when we lived overseas. But then, the minute that we came back, I'm decorating the house again and still decorating it to this day. And I think everybody does look forward to that.
For sure. I think this year I might put up the Christmas decorations the day after Thanksgiving, which is something I've never done before. But I think I will this year.
When do you normally do it?
I usually wait until like maybe the second week of December.
Oh no! If I'm taking the time to, those things need to be out for the whole month.
I know.
One year we went to. I think this was the first year that me and Andrew lived together in the townhouse, and we went to Cabo for a week for one of his friends' weddings, and that was like the first or second week of December. And so I actually put up the decorations before Thanksgiving, which he allowed me to do because I was like, we're missing an entire week when we're gone. So I'm like, also the last thing I want to do is have to deal with this, right before, after we get back.
Yeah, that was smart to do that. So, but back to traditions. So Christmas. So my family, so I grew up opening gifts on Christmas Eve, and that's pretty much.
Oh, really?
That's pretty much stuck. Although we went through a couple of Christmases where we opened gifts on Christmas Day, but I think everybody much prefers Christmas Eve. So that's very laid back. So I just do, maybe that's why I'm always in charge of charcuterie trays, because Mac also loved cold cuts. Oh my gosh, he just loved cold cuts. So we would just do trays of cold cuts and cheeses and fresh bread and crackers and pickles and just all of that. So that started when the boys were actually quite young, and I've continued that to this day. So, and now we've made it even easier because we cater it.
To the grocery store. And I will say that you tried last year to say that you were going to make a pasta dish instead of doing cold cuts, and we all said absolutely not.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna switch up my brunch too. So I host Christmas Eve and then a Christmas brunch. So I do just boom. So cold cuts and charcuterie trays, cheese boards, all that good stuff on Christmas Eve. And yes, and everybody voted no, we were not going to deviate from that tradition. And then I always have a Christmas brunch. We always have a Bloody Mary bar, mimosas, always have that. And I make the same casseroles, and they are casseroles. I make the same ones every year, and I have been 4 years. So I was going to switch that up too, and everybody ixnayed that as well. They're like, no. So
the egg and sausage casserole and then the French toast casserole. Like, how can you deviate from that?
That's right. And the chocolate chip coffee cake.
That's right. The chocolate
you normally open gifts though on Christmas Day. I feel like we open gifts on
we do now we do the white elephant. Excuse me. We do the white elephant on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
That's how we do
that's
it
right.
now.
I forgot about the white elephant.
Because now that because then Kelly's mom comes and nephew and girlfriends. So we've expanded things. So then we switched to the white elephant about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it's actually great now that my mom
longer. Because Mac was still alive when we
did
started.
that. Yeah, when I first came for
right.
when was that, Alex?
Your very first
2016. 2016.
Yeah, 2016. Yeah, we did that.
So which. It's only gotten better the more people you add to White Elephant, right? So like the more people, the more like opportunities to steal, and so the game goes on longer, which is a lot more fun.
Yeah,
so,
White Elephant is really fun. Yeah, it's turned into a very fun evening. So then Christmas Day, then before brunch, then we do and those
gifts
those
to
are
each
just
other.
gifts for family, because then it really is just family for brunch.
Yeah. So I actually have a question about the opening presents on Christmas Eve when the boys were little. Did they not ever think about Santa Claus? Like,
we always had Santa. So then Santa would come and leave like one gift or
on top of the 3 gifts.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like, two gifts or 2 treats in one holiday.
I see.
Yeah.
So we did one gift Christmas Eve. I always got one gift Christmas Eve, and then the rest we opened on Christmas morning.
Yeah.
But actually, my list to my mom one year is how I figured out that Santa Claus wasn't real. Well, actually, that was kind of the start of how I figured out. I think ultimately I still believed up until Easter, and then I caught her being the Easter bunny of that next year. But I was like very particular about, I wanted a bell.
No wonder you and Andrew get along.
I know. Well, I wanted a bell from Santa's sleigh. Also, how hard is it? She could have gone to Hobby Lobby to get a little bell, but she just completely, I tell her this to this day, and she's like, I don't remember that being on your list. So she just completely overlooked. I think it was the very last thing on my list. I was like, sleigh bell from Santa's sleigh. And I think that was my way of being like, oh, I'm going to know if she doesn't get this for me, then Santa's not real. Yeah. Well, then also she would always write, her handwriting was the exact same. So when I got older, I'm like,
she didn't do a left-handed handwriting
no.
to try and trick you.
So when I got older, and my mom's handwriting, because she actually went to school for graphic design and calligraphy, so she has very specific and very nice handwriting. Like, it's not just your average Joe's. Like, it's actual calligraphy that she's signing.
Yes. You're like,
I think that's how I realized that Santa wasn't really. There was the note, thank you for the cookies and the milk, always looked the same. Like, it looked just like my mom's handwriting. So I think I, kind of had that same inkling at around, 7, 8 years old. But my parents got divorced when I was 7. So from that point on, Christmas became a very different kind of thing for me and my sister, because we would split it between my mom and my dad, and it meant 2 Christmases, but not really, because one was always a week later, and then, so my grandparents had to wait, and I don't know, it was just, it made the holidays, Christmas in particular, feel a lot less special than it ever did before. And I kind of remember feeling like at that point was like the belief in Santa kind of went away. The feeling of like cozy holiday traditions kind of went away.
Yeah.
It just never felt the same after that. And so I think for most of my childhood was a very different Christmas experience than what I would, prefer to remember.
Yeah. That's how mine, well, I guess my mom and dad got divorced when I was, I think at the end of my 7th grade year. So I was a little bit older, but really from then on out, I think maybe in the beginning, like few years, I probably went up, like my mom attempted to make something happen, but my dad moved out of Georgia. So he lived in Nashville and different parts of Tennessee. And then he moved down to Fort Myers. And then really from like high school onward, it just became like Thanksgiving and Christmas just became holidays that me and my mom did. And, even into adulthood, that it just became kind of me and her. And the reason, so my grandparents, and my grandparents and my mom's sister, so my aunt, they live in Florida and they're always down in Florida. But the reason we would never go down to Florida to see them is because my mom at the time always worked in retail. So she worked for Publix initially. And then I think when I was like in college, she worked for J. McLaughlin, which is also retail. And she would always have to work the day before and sometimes the day after the holiday. So going and making an 8-hour journey down to Florida was not always an option, which is why it just ended up being me and her.
That's right.
So,
well, do you like having holidays with all of our nonsense, both of you?
I do. I mean, it's a lot crazier than I think the first time I was like, oh gosh, because I am so used to just a very
Being
chill,
quiet.
Quiet.
This is anything but quiet.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're drinking, we're playing games, but
it's fun though.
We've had any fights though?
No, I mean it's fun, and I'm glad because now that my mom has remarried and and they have their own traditions that they'll go to my stepdad's families, and obviously they still come for Thanksgiving, and me and Andrew still normally will do Christmas night with them. That's what we've been doing because we'll do morning.
Yeah.
So it still works, But yeah.
Well, Christmas is very, very special, and it's really lovely to share traditions with both of you. And, as our families grow, it's just really nice. And we welcome new additions and parents and, which is really nice. Your mom and nephew, his girlfriend, Kitty and Ryan. It's lovely. It really is. It is. So, okay. Well, we're going to bring it home with New Year's Eve because guess who got married last New Year's Eve?
Wrapping it up.
That's right. If you didn't know, so Chelsea and Andrew were married New Year's Eve of 2023, and that was really quite a fun, fun event. It really was, and it was the wedding was in Wilmington, right? The island of Wilmington,
Savannah.
So, yes. So, Savannah was included. So I think your hotel accommodations were in Savannah. We had the groom's dinner in Savannah, and then the wedding was then the next night in Wilmington. It was beautiful. So anyway, but I'm going to kick it off to you because you have a built-in tradition. You and Andrew do every year. So
well, it's a new tradition because we haven't quite gotten to our first year anniversary yet.
No, but it's coming up fast.
Yeah, Andrew was the one that actually wanted to get married on New Year's Eve. I think he just wanted it to be like a big party. And so, which I was like, that's fine. But yeah, so, we got married and obviously that was just last year. This New Year's Eve, we're actually going to Paris.
I know.
So that'll be fun. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what our traditions will be yearly, I guess. I can't really say that because it is so new, but I mean, maybe we'll try to take a trip every year if we can.
Well, wouldn't it be fun? Well, Ina Garten goes to Paris every year for New Year's.
Oh,
And,
really?
Oh, really? Oh,
and I
maybe
love to
I'll
hear
write
her
it down
recap because
later.
they go to a specific restaurant, and then they
Wow.
Oh,
come
wow.
back to their apartment. I mean, they do very specific things. And I
Yeah.
guess Paris has fireworks.
Well, it's my first time.
New Year's.
It's my first time going to Paris. So I'm super excited.
So much fun.
Andrew was like, "Oh, we could go here, here," and I think ultimately ended up being between London and Paris, and then we chose Paris. And so that's what we're doing this New Year's Eve. Prior to getting married to Andrew, I feel like the first New Year's Eve that we spent together, I actually drug him down to meet my grandparents in
that's
good old
right.
Lakeland, Florida. So if you're not familiar with Lakeland, Florida, it's basically Central Florida, Polk County. I'm just going to say redneck Florida. So if you are from Lakeland, Florida, I apologize because I was born there. But it's Central Florida, and there's just not a whole lot to do down there, I wouldn't say. I mean, Disney is like 45 minutes away, and Tampa is about 45 minutes away in the opposite direction. So we flew into Tampa, and I drug him down I want to say this was our very first New Year's Eve together because we landed, and then I remember he had planned this like special dinner. The restaurant called him after we had met up with my grandparents for a few hours. They called him and they were like, "Oh, it was maybe 9 p.m. They go, "Sir, we're so sorry, but we're closing." And he goes, "It's New Year's Eve." And my reservation was for 9:30. And they're like, "Oh yeah." They didn't even have a reason why they were closing. And so we ended up at the Longhorn Steakhouse, which was the only restaurant open.
Oh, I bet that was, super exciting for Andrew. He hates chain restaurants.
So exciting.
That's his pet peeve in life.
I know. And then on New Year's Day, we actually went because after we spent the day with my grandparents, we had gone to Universal Studios, so we went there for the day. So that was our first year together. And then the second New Year's Eve, I'm trying to think. I can't even remember what we did the second New Year's Eve. And then obviously
getting married.
Got married.
Yes.
But prior to Andrew, I mean, I would normally go out with my friend Noelle or my mom. I actually sent a picture before me and Andrew got married because 10 years to the day of New Year's Eve was the first time that me and my mom and Noelle all went out. And we went out to this bar that we would always go to, Fado. It's in Buckhead. And there's a picture of all three of us, but it was literally taken, okay, so it's 2024. It was taken in 2013.
Oh, wow.
So 2013 New Year's Eve, we were all, and I sent it to him and I go, who would have thought that 10 years from this date I would be getting married?
Yeah.
So
it is.
But
I think New Year's Eve traditions are maybe not as traditional. I mean, you may be that, that family that, has, brings everybody over, so you have game night or something like that. Or if it's just couples and you go out. I mean, hotels always have, big shindigs. I mean, lots of restaurants and things like that. So I just know that when the entire time I was married, because Mac was in the hospitality industry, so that was like the Super Bowl for hotels. So he would always go and make sure that everything was A-okay. So the boys and I would just pack a bag, and then we would have the president's suite or something like that. So we would just go and goof off. So the boys would be roaming around, and I'd be looking at my magazines, and the Mac would pop up, every once in a while. So that was New Year's Eve for me for years and years and years. So, and then actually when we moved to Athens, I really like that. And we've done this as well. You, me, and AJ. So Mac and I started going to the Georgia Club because they have just a really sweet dinner.
Yeah. They have live music.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Do they stay open until midnight or? Oh, okay.
They have a couple different seatings. So they have live music. Which is really nice, and everybody is so dressed up, and they have two different dinner seatings. So it just depends on which one.
I like stuff like that because even I think back to that one particular night that I was talking about 10 years ago, and we got this like super expensive Uber. We ended up stopping at this place to get food. And then the walk from the food place to my apartment was maybe a mile. And it was going to be like $150 to take us Uber. And we're like, absolutely not. So we ended up walking back. And I just remember like our feet hurt so bad. We were so miserable. And so I just always think just like a chill New Year's Eve is even more fun than.
I like that.
I actually prefer that. I've never, there have maybe, aside from your wedding, there have been very few instances when I've gone out for a party type thing. And my dad was a firefighter and paramedic and everything. And he kind of instilled in me, like, don't go out on the roads on New Year's Eve. You know, there's drunk drivers and it's dangerous and all the things. So I always just kind of had this idea in my head that, you know, staying close to home was always a nice way to spend. And honestly, I will say that I'm so boring. I fall asleep before midnight most of the time.
I know.
So,
me too.
But you didn't this past year.
Yeah, I didn't. No. And I'll tell you, I had coffee all the way up until, you know, to keep me up. But no, it was an exciting way to celebrate New Year's Eve, your wedding. It was a lot of fun.
I've been to one other New Year's Eve wedding. I think 5 years prior to when me and Andrew got married. And I had a really good time at that wedding too. It was just, I mean, it's also, I feel like weddings on New Year's Eve are fun because
they are.
You normally on New Year's Eve, it's always super expensive to do anything. So when it's a wedding, it's like, sure, like you pay for your travel arrangements and whatnot, but you get there and like you have an event to go to. You know, typically dinner is going to be served. You're going to have cocktails, which is all built in,
which is nice.
They've got music. And so, and then, you know, you're there and you don't have to worry about, and normally like we had transportation for people to get back.
A trolley.
So people didn't really have to worry about,
driving drunk.
Which
is really nice. Yes. That was really great. No, that was very sweet. Loved your wedding. And it was a great way to kick off 2024. With an addition to the family. So so any other thoughts on New Year's Eve, on traditions? I mean, I think it's a holiday that it just really depends on you. Do you like to stay home? Do you like to go out? Or, you know, even travel? I mean, I've gone on a couple of trips. I went down to Amelia Island a couple of years ago over New Year's Eve. And I guess maybe that's the only time I've ever traveled. But I mean, people do travel, you know, take little trips, things like that, if they're not too exhausted from Christmas. But it can be low key, it can be, you know, high key. But they do fireworks here in
and that's
in
actually
Georgia.
Something that
I didn't grow up with fireworks on New Year's Eve. But they do that here in Georgia. So they start setting it off. You know, a few days ahead of time. So that's always kind of fun too. And I will say, so just one more thing. So when we lived in Guam, so we lived on an island in Guam, and so we would also be at the hotel, which is right on Tumon Bay, and then they always had the fireworks going off, you know, over.
So you can see.
That's fun.
You know what? Speaking of that, I will say though that when I lived in
Beautiful.
Alaska, so 4th of July is, you know, it doesn't really get dark. So like fireworks during 4th of July in Alaska are like, not really a thing, right? So all of the firework excitement would always be for New Year's. Because it, you know, it's plenty dark during January. And so that I do remember living in Alaska, like New Year's was a bigger deal than I've seen it in a lot of other places.
But I'm excited for you to go to Paris. And honestly, that has been, since I read that Ina Garten goes there every year, and Paris is one of my favorite cities. You need to. We'll have to find out what Jeffrey, what restaurant they like to go to. But that's been in the back of my mind. I think that would be so much fun, is to have a tradition where you just go like for 3 days. Because honestly, if, you know, from the East Coast, it's not that the flight is not that long.
Paris is really
one of the closest cities to us.
Really nice.
But that's been in the back of my mind. So I'll be curious to see how you and Andrew love it, because I wouldn't mind doing that. In my future years.
It might be a good tradition to start, actually. Going to Paris for New Year's.
I know. Even if it's just like, you know, for 3-4 days. I can totally do that. All right, ladies. Well, we are going to wrap this segment up, and we're going to take a quick break, and we will be I can't talk. We will be back with New and Noteworthy. And we're back with my favorite segment, New and Noteworthy, where the girls are just going to share something that is on their radar screen. And since it is we are coming up with the holidays. I have something kind of holiday-ish, but anyway, Chelsea, I'm going to kick it off with you this time. So what do you have for new and noteworthy?
Well, mine's not holiday-ish.
Not holiday-ish?
I think I talked about...
Get with it, girls. Get with it.
I talked about the first season of this, but I just started the second season, and I think I'm on episode like 3 or 4. Tell Me Lies, and it's a series on Hulu. And I was a little unsure about it during the first season because I remember so this is the series that's basically about the college students and their partying and sex and drugs and alcohol and relationships and all of that. And then obviously the characters, there's a huge amount of lies, being had between them. But I finished the first season because everyone just kept talking about the second season. I kept seeing it everywhere. They're like, oh my God, second season of Tell Me Lies. So I'm like, all right, I got to get through the first season. And it really did end with a bang. And then the second season is interesting because it kind of just continues out the story. But they really do a very good job of making you like hate some of these characters. I think like there is this one guy in particular, his name is Steven, in the show. And it's just, I feel like every single episode, you're just like, oh my gosh, this guy's an asshole.
Really?
Like, I mean, it's almost like you feel it like deep in your core that you're just like, this guy, like, what is the deal with him?
Yeah.
So
good writing and good casting.
Yeah,
then.
for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like a feel good show. Like it's
Doesn't
not.
sound like. I don't think I'm going to be watching it all by myself on a Saturday night.
But it makes you feel something.
It makes you feel something. I'm interested to finish season 2 mainly because everyone was like so apparently shocked by the ending. So I'll keep you posted.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so
I actually saw it, I think in my inbox the other day for a Vogue magazine article about like the last episode of season 2 explained. So it sounds like it was a,
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well,
deal.
Anyways.
Okay. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, Kelly. TV show or
movie.
Oh, what? It's a movie.
And I'm actually really excited to share this. So by the time this episode airs, this movie will probably be out of theaters. But so Saturday night,
very long.
They don't anymore. They really don't. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this, even though it probably will be out of theaters by the time this airs, is that it's been a really long time since I've gone to the movies, the theater, to see a movie and come out feeling like I really enjoyed myself. Right? I think Top Gun Maverick was the last time that, and that was a while ago now. So Saturday Night is a film directed by Jason Reitman. It opened in theaters on October 11th. We went and saw it that opening day.
I went with AJ and Kelly, so I can attest to all of the things that she's about to say because it was a really good movie.
Yeah, so it's about the first broadcast of Saturday Night Live, which was on October 11th, 1975.
Which I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
I had no idea.
So the movie is filmed it's basically real time. It's a 90-minute movie about the 90 minutes leading up to the first broadcast of Saturday Night, which at the time was called Saturday Night. They didn't add the live part of that until after the Howard Cosell show Saturday Night Live was done. Anyway, this movie, I really, like I said, I left the theater feeling like that was a really good time. I think if we dug into like, very specific things like, did this happen? Did this not happen? Like, who knows exactly what happened? I think if you let some of whether or not all of it is true go, it is a incredibly enjoyable movie.
It was.
I mean, the cast is phenomenal. Like I was really, really surprised because they bear some like physical resemblance to the people that they're playing, who we all well know, like Chevy Chase and Gilda Radner and
Dan Aykroyd.
So like there is some like physical similarities between the actors and the actual people, but they actually, I feel like they did a really good job of portraying their personalities as we know them without making it like a parody. It didn't feel like a caricature of everybody. It felt very real and realistic, and I enjoyed it.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
And I did too. I thought it was an excellent movie, and It was good for me to, I mean, it just brought me back to my teen years because that came out when I was a junior in high school. And it just became an institution right away because it was on Saturday night. And if you didn't have a date, you would be home. And sometimes you didn't even want to have a date because you would want to be home to watch Saturday night. It was that good. Yeah. So it brought back a lot of good memories like that. So, okay. Well, thanks for sharing. Well, I do have something that's very holiday-ish because we are getting into that mode right now. And so this is a product and this is a company. I may have talked about Colleen Rothschild before. It's
the vitamin C serum.
Vitamin C serum. I really like this skincare company. And I like it perhaps because I do know the owner, who is Colleen Rothschild. And she's an amazing woman and a great entrepreneur. And she and her husband actually started this company, but she's the face. And so you might be getting this, you might not, as a gift, but I just love this. So it's a Colleen Rothschild Advent calendar. I always like Advent calendars. And so you get to count down to the holidays with a limited edition Advent calendar. And so, but it's also a way to try new skincare products.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they like little sample sizes?
So they're little tiny, so they fit in the little Advent calendar.
That's so cute.
So they're 12 curated items. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but, and I think they may have, one for your hair, definitely skincare. She also has hair care items too. But I love her skincare company, highly recommend them. And so I just thought this was super sweet. And just a great little gift, like a pre-gift, because you wouldn't obviously get this at Christmas time. So this was, you start counting down the first of Christmas. But the boys we had an Advent calendar.
We did too. I loved it.
Oh my gosh. They were just so excited. So so they would take one out, before they would go to school, and they were just so cute. I mean, that was
the way you counted.
Yes.
You're like, only 5 more days till Christmas.
I know. So anyway, so I just thought this would be really sweet to give to the girls this year. So So if you get one, perhaps, I don't know, but may have let something out of the bag.
I guess we'll see.
All right. Well, we're wrapping up episode 40. Can't believe it, of Message for Mom. And of course, we have links down below. If you're watching on YouTube, we have links to the Colleen Rothschild Advent calendar and anything else that we've talked about today. And you can also follow us wherever you love to listen to your podcast. So we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, and a couple of channels that I'm not even, iHeart, that I'm not even that familiar with. So you can follow us along here on YouTube or wherever you like to listen to your podcast. So we will see you next week.